All right, everyone, welcome. Please make sure your cameras and microphones are turned off as we will be recording this session today. Any questions you may have can be asked in the chat feature. If we do not get to your question or talk about it or follow up in any sort of way, we will make sure to cover it by the end of our meeting. You can also find this recording that is going to be posted publicly on my Facebook, so you don't have to be my Facebook friend to view it. However, I am going to try to make a YouTube video. I just have had technical difficulties attempting to do that before, but it will definitely be shown on my Facebook. So if you want to reference back to it for any sort of reason. But for some of you, most of you may know me, but I'm Hillary Vara. I'm the nursing advisor here at UW Parkside for the nursing program. I advise everything from pre-nursing all the way through the professional major. So you will have me from starting off as a pre-nursing student through licensure, and I help you get all of that throughout your senior year. So we'll go ahead and get started. But first and foremost, I want to say I hope all of you are very proud of yourself for making it this far. This part of application mode is super exciting. It's not meant to be scary, and hopefully by the end of this meeting, you'll feel knowledge, you'll feel excited, and you'll feel ready, most importantly. So to now kind of talk and give you a heads up, an overview of the nursing program. So if you've come to my group advising that's very pre-nursing focused, this meeting is vital because it goes over everything professional major. So to kind of kick it off, most of you should have seen this class year 1, year 2 diagram on all of your pre-nursing worksheets or plan of studies. But the professional nursing major takes place over 2 years or 4 semesters. The first 2 semesters are 16 credits each, and the second 2 semesters are 15 credits each for a total of 62 credits. As your advisor, that is what we track all the time, every single time we meet. So that's why it's important to meet and touch base to make sure that we are getting to your 124 credits you need for graduation. We do not recommend working more than 20 hours a week. Many students are CNAs, and we recommend that you work as a CNA prior to graduation, because after the first semester of the professional major, you are able to sit and take your CNA state exam. No class and your clinical work is being counted from this first semester in nursing school. We do not offer part-time at Parkside, and some of the expectations is that you'll be reading over 300 pages per week. Group and individual assignments, you work on ATI, which is what the program that we use in conjunction with the nursing curriculum to help enhance, and it has boosted our NCLEX pass results. You'll have papers. You'll have a flipped classroom, which is not so much of a lecture, it's more of an interactive space where you'll be meeting and working with your classmates, and you are expected to come to class and have the reading done so you're ready to discuss by the time you come to class. The application of the material is what you need to know. So as we progress through knowing your pre-nursing stuff, making sure that you're confident in microbiology, chemistry, all of those components, because they build off of each other within the professional major. So self-remediation is very important because we are going to essentially have you do this as your full-time job. It is concept-driven curriculum. A lot of memorization will not get you through, as that's not sufficient to pass exams. You need to apply what you are learning to cover NCLEX style questions, which are 2 scenario types of questions, and it is a different way of studying. The material builds off of pre-nursing. So as I mentioned, self-remediation over the breaks, reviewing the course material from all of your pre-nursing classes is going to be vital, and you should do that before you would start the program. So I recommend winter break, summer. I understand you're out of school at those times, but make sure you are doing some self-remediation because it will help you. We work with over 160 clinical agencies in southeastern Wisconsin, and each semester you will have a clinical expectation for about 8 hours once a week. Your first semester, you'll be talking more of a long-term care rehab facility. Your second semester, you'll be in a hospital or med-surg unit. Your third semester, you are outside of the hospital, really focusing on that population health site, as 50% of nurses work outside of hospitals, which is a really cool statistic. Fourth semester is when we kind of dive into those hospital specialties. We want you to really focus on something that gets you excited, try to help you get a specialty that you want to go into. So your clinical then bumps up to 2 days a week, so that's 16 hours a week. And some of the potential sites would be pediatrics, maternal and child, psych, mental health, and advanced med surg. You are not allowed to be late or not show up to any of these classes, whether they're theory, whether they're clinical. You have to be there. Additionally, in the first year of the professional major, there's going to be about 2 hours a week added to skills lab. And that's your first year, first 2 semesters, also known as guided practice. So it's important to plan accordingly for work, as this is where you'll learn the skills in the Parkside lab, which is on the first floor talent, from learning how to wash your hands correctly to more advanced skills. You also will learn this through ATI, then skills lab, and then you'll practice it in clinical. So we don't just send you in a clinical expecting you to know all of this. We really try to ease you up, get you going, as this program teaches you to think like a nurse. And the program format is in conjunction with Waukesha. So we do beam our classes between Waukesha and Parkside cohorts. To now talk about some of the prerequisite courses and academic policies. Please note that the policy changes for a prerequisite course. So we have a 2.75 nursing GPA as well as a science GPA. You must earn a minimum of a C in all prerequisite courses. Earning a C- or lower is considered a failure and you'll have to repeat the course. A single required course can only be repeated 1 time, and no more than a total of 2 required courses can be repeated. Exceeding the repeat policy will make you ineligible unless you submit an appeal to your advisor. So for example, let's say you failed psychology. Then you retook it and you passed it. Awesome, that's your first repeat. But then down the line, you failed anatomy. That's okay, you retook it, you passed, that's fine, that's your second repeat. But then down the line, micro got a little hairy. You are then ineligible for our program. Followed by, if you didn't pass that Psych 101 class right away, well then you would retake it that second time. If you didn't pass it that second time, well then you're ineligible for our program, as you can only repeat each class 1 time. If anyone has any questions about that, please remember to type them in the chat, and I am monitoring the chat as well. The minimum nursing and science GPAs are a 2.75. Acceptance into the professional major is not guaranteed. And please know that strong applicants are considered when they are earning a 3.3 to a 3.5 or higher for the nursing and science GPAs. That said, if you are academically eligible at a 2.75, I still want you to apply. We never know what the application pool will look like, and we don't know that until after we average all of the applications. So definitely shoot your shot and apply as long as you're eligible. For the fall 2022 application, your academic evaluation will be used and based upon the rubric. All of you should have a copy of that rubric, and we will cover that in a little bit as well. And it's to be completed on what you have or academic. It's going to be based on what you've submitted within your application, based off of your academic record, and I will calculate any classes that you take through winter of 2022 into your GPA. So all prerequisite courses do not have to be completed by the time you submit the application, but they would need to be completed by the time you would start the professional major. And you also have to pass all of your classes that spring semester. So for example, let's say you're in Chemistry 215 in spring, and you ended up getting a C. Yes, a C is passing, but if it dropped your overall science GPA or pre-nursing GPA to below a 2.75, you lost your spot. And same with Chemistry 215. Let's say you failed it that spring semester and you're like, oh, well, I can retake it in summer. You failed that class after you've been accepted, so you lose your spot. Whether or not you're able to take it in summer or not, you would have to reapply. And these are things that I want you to talk to me if you find yourself in a pickle. Again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. But this is the rules. Most of you know these by now. What's included in your nursing GPA? So I like to kind of create this little diagram because all of these classes count into your nursing GPA, but then we also pull out and extract these 7 science classes and calculate a science GPA. So with that being said, it's important to talk to me because there are some ways and some sneaky things we can do to increase your GPA. So for instance, if you look at the sociology course, I can accept any sociology course. So if you take a look at your pre-nursing worksheet and you're like, hey, this this advisor of mine just accepted Sociology 101, but I took Gender and Society and earned an A versus my Sociology 101, I earned a B. Make sure you're letting me know, because then I can calculate in that Sociology, Gender, and Society class instead of your B from Sociology 101. Same with Social Science Elective, as well as Intro to Psych. So with the Psych class too, if you take a different Psych, I can enter in the better grade. So that's another one that if you meet with me, these are things we can talk about and go over. So making sure to calculate your grades is important. Here is how you calculate your grades. I've sent out the sheet on how to, but basically each grade has a point equivalent for the letter grade. You would multiply the point equivalent by the number of credits of the class and then add the total number of credits with the total number of grade points, and then you would divide. So for example, this is an example of the biological sciences class, which is BIOS 202 at Parkside. However, your pre-nursing worksheet does this for you, and I advocate for you to use that as well. So now the timeline. There's some really good information on here, so I do recommend if you want to screenshot this one, this is a great slide to have, but do not wait until the last minute to submit your electronic application. The electronic system shuts down at 5 p.m. on January 2nd, 2022. If you're working on your application at 5 p.m., you will not be able to submit it, and late submissions will not be accepted. This is a firm deadline. This is coming up from the higher ups at the College of Nursing. There's nothing that I can do for you if you don't get it in by 5 p.m. All nursing prerequisite courses must be successfully completed within the academic policy before the start of the professional major. Again, I say this again because we have to make sure we're complying with policy. So if we take a look at this, January 2nd at 5 p.m. is when the electronic application is due. We'll go over this in the next few slides. End of January, all of your, basically it's due the January 2nd, because I then in the month of January go over and make sure all of your GPAs are eligible. As long as your GPAs are eligible, you will be invited for the virtual interview session, which is set to take place February 14th through the 17th. And then there will be a essay for everyone to complete as well. So that you guys are kind of in this mist of right here. So by January it's due. By the end of January, if you're taking a winter class, you need to email me and let me know to complete that grade has been posted so I can add it to your pre-nursing worksheet. You also need to let me know if you're taking it somewhere else, because I need that transcript ASAP to process your application so you can get an interview site. February, you will have your interview and you'll have your essay. And then by late March, early April, most likely by March, you'll find out if you were accepted into the program. If these dates that we go over in the next few slides don't work for you, let me know you need accommodations by December 11th. That is the last time we'll accept accommodations at the College of Nursing. So now this is the fun part where we talk all about the application. So it is a holistic process. We do not use your name in this process. We go by a badge number. And the reason that we do that is to remain unbiased. As you know, if people saw Vara, they may know that's a Hispanic or Latin American last name, and biases could play a role. Same thing with other last names. So we really try to remove that bias. So we use the badge numbers. I'm going to minimize this for a second and pull up this link. Just before this meeting, I did send out a good email with exactly kind of some more tips and tricks, as well as the link and dates. So this is the professional nursing major profile at UW-Milwaukee. Notice it is UW-Milwaukee's website. This is where Parkside students apply. So if you click this apply to the professional major, it's going to open up a new link, and here's the application. It opened up the first week of November, so it's been open for about a little over a week now. And this is all the information you are to put in. For your UWM student ID, put in your Parkside ID. That will help me figure out and organize all the applications. This is where you're going to want to select the cohort you're part of. You can only put in one cohort. You are not able to apply for all three. You're not able to apply for two. You're only able to apply for one. So if that is Parkside, put in Parkside. Put in all of this information. These are those 5 socio-geographical questions based off of the rubric, those 5 points that we go over. So based on how you answer these questions, that is how the points are awarded. Then we come back down to the education bracket. Where it says UW-Milwaukee, picture that as Parkside. So completed all college level study at UW-Milwaukee. If you're a transfer student, you put no. If you are a Parkside start to end, you'll put yes. If you are maybe one or two classes at Gateway or 1 or 2 classes at CLC, go ahead and put in that you started and ended at Parkside or UW-Milwaukee in this situation. But you are going to, this is basically our question asking if you're a transfer student. Then you're going to put in the institutions that you've attended. So as long as you are just Parkside, you would put in just Parkside. If you did take a class at Gateway, you'd put this in here. And then list any of the courses that you are planning to take in this upcoming spring and summer. So you may want to turn to your plan of study for this question. As we go down, you'll see these next 3 questions, one about life work experience, volunteer experience, and leadership experience. There's a 400 word limit for each, and you are able to identify up to 3 experiences for each. Followed by that, this is our security check. So by typing in CON twice, that's a security check, and by typing in your initials, you're signing off that everything you put in this application was yours and very authentic to everything you've completed so far. We do reserve the right to check on these as well, so make sure you're putting in everything truthfully and honestly. If there's any questions about this, please feel free to put some in the chat. I do see I have a question. So both the interview and essay are virtual. So the interviews are virtual, the essay will be in person. And I'll have the exact date in a couple slides from now. Are there any questions about this application portion right here? It's this simple. To flip back to this website, there's a few other key factors I want you to take a look at while you're here. So again, this is the main website that I sent you guys today. If you scroll down a little bit, this is where you apply to the professional major. Scroll down a little more, you'll see this rubric. I plan to go over this rubric in a little bit, but most importantly, this is the admission application guidelines. This is a sheet that I downloaded for you and submitted in that email, but what I recommend you guys to do is fill out the application on this sheet. You can do a word count, you can do spell check, you can save and continue. A huge thing that I like to talk about now, because I learned from other students, is that they liked having a Word document that they could review before their interviews. So make sure that you save this and use it for when you're prepping for your interviews, remembering all the cool things you've done, all the experiences, and just remembering what exactly you put on your application could be helpful. So this is where I encourage you to start and then copy and paste all of your answers in. You can copy and paste everything in here, but there's no save and continue with this. Since you all are here, another important thing is when you come to this resources tab, there is a info session, an older info session here for UWM. You can watch this, see if anything different than what I'm saying was said, but it is the same information, the same PowerPoint. But what I want you to pay attention to is this UWM College of Nursing core values. This is a huge tip and trick. Make sure you are incorporating these topics, these thought processes in your answers. This is really going to enrich your content material. This is going to enrich your thought process when it comes to the interview, when it comes to putting it on your application. So using these key terms will be important, as this is the core values of the College of Nursing. And then there was also some additional opportunities here to explore, but mainly what I want to get here is the core values. The important dates as well. So it does reflect the January 2nd at 5 p.m. deadline, kind of breaks down just like the timeline that I showed you moments ago. I do have a couple questions, so I'll take a moment to read those. Can you repeat the information about the question section in the section education on the application? Of course. So when it comes to the education, completed all college level at UW-Milwaukee, that can be UW Parkside, and you're going to hit yes if you did and no if you didn't. If you are a transfer student or a post-bachelorette student, make sure to put this information here and you would select no. However, if you only took a summer class or maybe a winter class somewhere else, or you took your CNA somewhere else, you can definitely say that you completed all of your coursework at Milwaukee. This question is really here to see if you're a transfer student or not to confuse anyone. Then, even if you did take a summer class at Gateway, put it in here. If you are a transfer student, put all of your other institutions in here as well. For the courses that you still need to complete, look at your plan of study. You're going to put the classes that you are completing in spring as well as summer listed right here. And this makes sure that you are on track to complete all of the pre-nursing courses by the time you would start the professional major. Please let me know if anything wasn't clear about that. Can we send you our rough drafts to go over life, volunteer, work, volunteer, and leadership experiences? Sadly, no. I can talk to you about it very generally, kind of help choreograph where maybe it would want to go, like would, organizing a drive at my church be volunteer or leadership? Well, I think that's more leadership focused because you're organizing, you're implementing, you're directing people. That is more so what I'm able to do. But since I am so related to the college, I'm unable to read everything and go through it. I would be considered a transfer student since I took majority of my classes at Lake County, correct? So correct, hypothetically speaking, if you took more than half of your classes at another institution, you would be a transfer student. So UWP select no. UWP students select yes, because you can replace this UW Milwaukee with UW Parkside. Sorry if I confused you about that. Any other questions, please shoot them in there. To kind of talk about this life work leadership, it is resume style. There's really no direct exact format. It's the format whatever you feel best executes what you want to share. So just making sure that you don't go over your 400 words, because this thing will let you type and type and type, but we will only be able to see the 400 words that get submitted. We also need complete records. So any transcripts that you have not gotten officially to me, please send them my way. That will hold yourself up in the application process, especially in January when I go through and reflect all this. So in the month of January, I know you're on break, but please check your email if you applied to the professional major, because if I email you needing a transcript or I need something clarified, I need to get a hold of you. So make sure that you are checking that so I can process your application forward. Can you put in an experience in more than one category and explain them differently? You definitely can. If you have enough experiences to not do that, I may recommend, sharing everything, because you can explain things further within your interview. But if, let's say, going back to my church example, you did a drive, you want to talk about that leadership aspect, you want to talk about the volunteer and why it's important to you personally, you can definitely do that. For the essay, do we get a prompt? And if we could, yep, I'll go over that question in a little bit. I can't exactly give you an example of the prompt, but I'll go over some good tips and tricks for the prompt in the next couple slides. You guys are on top of it, nice. Anything else before I kind of move on to the next slide? Alrighty. So now this is the rubric. So what I give you guys this rubric right when I meet you. It's not to scare you, it's not to intimidate you, but I believe in being transparent. I believe in being open, and so does the College of Nursing. So we give you this rubric right from the get-go. There's not many nursing programs that give you exactly how you're getting measured. So we really pride ourselves on this. So if you're on that cusp of a 3.29, what can you do? What can you do in class? Talk to your professors, because this 3.3 is a nice 3-point jump right there. We do look into your science GPA a little bit more intensely, as nursing is a competitive, rigorous STEM field. So we want to ensure that you're going to be able to be successful in the professional major classes. The last thing we want to do is let someone in our program who is not going to be successful within their tuition, within their grades. We don't want this to end badly for anyone. Science courses completed. You get 1 point up to 5 points for each science class you completed to this point. A lot of you listened to me and took microbiology last summer, which was a huge benefit because you get that extra point, which can make a difference. Course repeats. If you have a course repeat, you do lose a couple points. It is okay though. If you have one, it's 2 points. I always like to kind of channel our thinking is if you lost 2 points here, what can you do to make sure you're getting more of a hefty load of points in your work life and volunteer experience? This is a section that people sometimes lack on. So I really try to talk about this early on. If you're sitting here right now like, oh man, I didn't do the volunteer, I didn't pay attention to that. Well, you have about a month. So get something under your belt. You don't want to leave anything blank. Sometimes students won't use their full 400 words. And I just want to be like, come on, explain yourself. Did COVID impact you? That is something that you can explain too. With you guys, it's not as relevant as maybe a year ago, but if it has stopped you, let's say you were volunteering at the Humane Society, and then all of a sudden they put a halt on and they're still not allowing volunteers to come back, explain that, talk about that. And also here, talk about what you're planning to do. So I have a handful of you who are interested in getting your CNA over the winter, spring, summer. I plan to get my CNA. Those are all things that could potentially help you out. Social and geographic factors. These are those 5 questions that are on the beginning of the application. We look at the first generation college student, low socioeconomic standing, resident Milwaukee County, resident of Racine or Kenosha, a rural community resident, or things of that nature. So those questions are kind of based around those topics. And then with the writing sample, you're going to have your in-person essay as well as your virtual interview. So the essay will be in person. A final time will be distinguished soon, but I do talk about that process in the next couple slides. Any questions about any of this so far? Alrighty. So now to kind of talk about the interviews. Applicants will meet with 3 interviewers individually. It's anywhere between 2 or 3 people. Typically it's about 2 people, but it could be 3 depending on how many people are helping out with the application process up at UW-Milwaukee. Each interview will be roughly 12 minutes, making up a 1 30-minute block. You do not need any nursing experience to answer these questions, which I think is an important concept to know, as they are more situational and meant to gain insight into your personality, your values, your instincts. Interviewers may be a nurse, they may be a non-nursing faculty, alumni, or just an average person. So it is a pool of people who review these applicants. This is an important date to know, so take a snapshot of this picture too, but kind of hold yourself busy. February 14th through the 17th, as that is the week of the virtual interviews. Scheduling will be done once we confirm your eligibility. So as soon as I get through everything in January, I submit those, and then you will be invited to sign up for a Zoom interview through your email. So it's important to, when you're doing your application, make sure you're putting in your email accurately. I'm surprised I have to say that, but it has happened where students don't put in @rangers.uwp.edu. They'll forget the S, they'll forget the UWP or swap Rangers and UWP. So please, please, please save you and me the headache and put in your email correctly. I think I got a couple more questions. For the essay, do we get a prompt? Oh, yeah, no, I'm good. Sorry about that. Oh, what if you did the application before? Is it okay to use the same experiences but add on the additional things you've experienced within the year? Of course. I definitely spruce it up, update it, but you can use the same experiences. You can use the same types of things as if you have already applied and you are applying again. We don't use your old application whatsoever. This is a fresh start for you. Different people could be reviewing it. We don't keep them on record or anything, so do it as if you're applying for the first time. So you will have 3 questions, take the whole 30 minutes to interview, or how would that work? So you will be given 3 prompts, roughly 12 minutes, roughly is what it was. Just depends on the type, how much you want to talk. It's a 30-minute slot. Depends how much you want to talk about your experiences. It's really dependent on you. But it is a 30-minute chunk. So I recommend using as much time as you can, but also don't repeat yourself and come off professional. All right. So now with the writing or the admissions essay, Saturday, February 12th, 2022, save this date. This is the date I was given. More information will be given to you when I get more information. But again, you will have 30 minutes to write on the topic. It can be from based off of your pre-nursing courses. So you took 3 pre-nursing courses. What I encourage you to do is review your Canvas site forum, review all the papers you've done, and know what was going on in those classes. Those 3 classes are what's really going to carry you through this admissions essay component. Make sure you're able to provide examples, apply it to your life. We're looking for you to communicate in the written form, organize your thoughts logically, state your position on the topic clearly, and then consider other perspectives other than your own. This is what's going to make a very strong essay. You're going to be given the prompt day of, so make sure that you come ready and knowing the knowledge base from Nursing 101, 102, and 251. To now talk about the breakdown a little bit, so applicants will be notified of their status in March, April. UWM accepts 72 students for the fall cohort. UW Parkside accepts 40. And UWM Waukesha accepts 8 to 16 students, up to 32. So the wait lists vary as the amount of the populations are a little bit bigger and vary as well, but we do deny students because the worst thing to know is if we have so many students on a wait list and you have that potential that you're getting into our program, but you're really far down on that wait list, we don't want to do that to you. We want you to use your plan B and start working on your plan B. So that's why we do deny some students as well. UWM has a spring start and they accept 112 students for a spring start. So you would apply in summer for a spring start, and that's usually a backup plan for students. So I like to bring that up, but this is kind of a rough reason of how many students we accept. If you are not accepted into the professional major, we want you to meet with your advisor. For all of you, that's me. We want to make sure that you are able to have your plan B implemented, and if you are waitlisted, what other things are we going to have working on? Being waitlisted does not mean a yes, it does not mean a no, but I do encourage students to keep going on their plan B if you are waitlisted, because we don't know how it pans out. If you are accepted and or waitlisted, we do encourage you to go to the I'm in Now What meeting. That meeting is where I go over everything in great detail, from Castle Branch requirements to additional deadlines, additional program updates. So that meeting has not been set yet. That happens usually in April. To give you a heads up on items to expect, like I said, all health requirements will be due by August 1st. The I'm in Now What meeting will go over exactly what those are, including, flu shot, chicken pox shot, all of those vaccinations you must have complete. CPR is another one. We have to have it through the American Heart Association. No Red Cross, American Heart Association. So that is another thing. If you have it through your job, that is fantastic, but we have to make sure it doesn't expire before your clinical for that year would end. So in May of the end of that first semester within the professional major. You'll be required to drug test, which is again due by August 1st, and have a background check as well, which is typically due August 1st as well. So August 1st is those deadlines. Those really don't change, just the year changes. And some additional costs to anticipate within our program is roughly about $1,600 for ATI, which is again that program that we use. $50 for a good pair of shoes that you can wear in clinical. They have to be white, they have to be blue or navy blue. You are to order scrubs through Gloria K, which is another thing I talk about in that I'm in Now What meeting, and that's roughly $60. They have to have the UW Milwaukee insignia on them, and they have to be in the correct color. You are a student. You also will need an ID badge, as you are to wear that ID badge in all of your clinical sites. A stethoscope. Stethoscopes are kind of a thing I want to take a second to talk about, because you can get a $20, $30 stethoscope. You can even buy them at our bookstore. However, you might as well buy a Fisher Price one. You really want to spend anywhere between $50 to $100. There are some super bougie ones out there, but you don't need something like that. One of the ones that we recommend, actually Doc Brown, who you will meet, she teaches patho this semester, is the stethoscope I just put in the chat, which is the Littmann Lightweight 2 SE. That's a good one that was recommended from Doc Brown, so now I run with it to give an example. But that's about $50, $60, so that's about the price you want to pay. Differential tuition is another component, as that goes to the Black and Gold Committee, which distinguishes how we spend those dollars. That pays for your white coat for the white coat ceremony. It pays for a few other additional things. Also, the supplies you use within our program. Being a nursing student, you use a lot of things, Band-Aids, gauze, wraps. So with that being said, that's what that differential tuition goes to. And there is an opportunity to join the Black and Gold Committee if you wanted to be the Parkside Student Advocate. So if you are interested, let me know. And then COVID or not, there will be an online course fee for Nursing 434. It's been online before COVID, it's been online now. So it's just one of those online course fees. So that's kind of it with the additional costs. We'll go into more depth about it once we go into the I'm in Now What meeting, but for now, just anticipate. Have a backup plan. Does anyone have any questions at all? I think I got a couple more in the chat. Okay, if you get on the wait list, will there be a fee? If so, about how much? So yeah, if you get on the wait list, you are still expected to attend the I'm in Now What meeting. You're expected to meet with me, attend the I'm in Now What meeting, and complete all of these deadlines by the August 1st deadline, as in you are accepted. Because if someone isn't compliant by this August 1st deadline, they lose their spot. So if someone doesn't get their background check done or their drug test done, they are out, and if yours is done, you're in. That's how we roll. So you want to be ready for that just in case. And then I am your advisor down here at Parkside. If anyone is interested in applying to UW-Milwaukee, let me know and I can get you connected with another advisor. If I attended UW, I'm at Washington for an associate's and then completed the rest of my pre-nursing at UWP. Do I select yes or no? So you can just hit, you've completed everything at the same institution because it's all the same nursing program. We wouldn't consider you a transfer student. Good question, Brady. So is there a fee for the wait list? There's not a fee for the wait list. You are just responsible for completing these requirements, which does cost a fee to order all the Castle Branch waivers and everything like that. So there's not a fee to be on our wait list, but you will need to be compliant with all of the additional things that we are requiring as if you were accepted. Does that answer your question? So a Castle Branch check is roughly $50, $60. Don't quote me. If you email me, I can get you the exact prices. But as of now, it's not something I would worry about too much until we either are admitted or waitlisted. That's more of the I'm in Now What meeting. This was more so just a, hey, this is what's coming. Any other questions? If anyone wants to turn on their camera, this can be the time. Thank you, Brady. So I also work with Mike Walk up at UW-Milwaukee. And then I'm in Now What meeting. I will have him come and he will come and talk about Castle Branch. So I'm not the most up to sync, but I know the general stuff. But if you need any more details, I can get it for you. This is your time to ask any questions that you might have regarding the program. I hope this was helpful for you. Anything about the application I can show you or go over? Well, if there is nothing, we are done with today's application prep meeting.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So,
can you speak up a little bit? I'm so sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I wanted to know about the drug testing area. Do you have like locations where we can go, or are we just going to a local hospital to get a drug test?
Yeah. When we sign you up for Castle Branch, there'll be a list of places that you can take your sheet to for the drug test.
Along with the rest of the stuff that is required as well?
Yes, the drug test.
But the other stuff as well, because we have to do a background check and everything else. Are you going to have a list for all the other stuff that you guys are required, where we can go to get the necessary stuff done?
100%. Mm-hmm. It's just a little early to talk about it right now, but yes, we guide, that's the I'm in Now What meeting. We guide you through that whole second process. So step 1 is applying, getting admitted or waitlisted. Step 2 would be then tackling all of the things you need to start the professional major. Again, a COVID vaccine is another thing that most likely will be on there. A lot of clinical sites are requiring the COVID vaccine. It's not UW Parkside, it's not UW Milwaukee, it is the clinical sites. So that's what these Castle Branch materials are for. We have to, in order for us to have partnerships with our clinical sites, we have to ensure that you are abiding by their requirements. So we use Castle Branch to track. So the COVID vaccine most likely will be a requirement. As you may have known in the news right now, there's a lot of stuff going on. So if it changes, we will let you know. But as of now, for most clinical sites, all of our clinical sites at UW Parkside and Milwaukee are requiring the COVID vaccine as of now. Again, it's not the university, it is the clinical sites.
Do they have something in black and white requiring this, that you need to have this required vaccination?
Some like a policy?
Yes, like in black and white, something that I can look at to see, okay, these are the reasons why we want you to be vaccinated, just besides what's going on.
Yeah, so it's, again, I don't have that for you because it's not a university requirement. It is a clinical site. So dependent on your clinical site, they would have a policy for you. Which you wouldn't know your clinical site till probably August. Any other questions at all?
You said you're uploading this, right?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording this right now.